The Tales of the Towpath trip is a trip for fourth grade students. Students begin by reading the book Tales of the Towpath, which is about a young man comes from Ireland with his family in the mid-18th century, and eventually they settle on the Freemansburg Canal and make a life there on the Freemansburg Canal with a boat on the canal and a mule. So the trip itself is a chance for students to experience what they're learning about and what they're reading in the book. So they get to visit the canal, they get to learn what life was like on the canal, living during that time period in the mid-1800s. Things like making dye, gardening in the herb garden, using various tools, seeing the way in which a lock works on the canal, a canal lock. They really get to live what they're reading in the book, and then they get to come back to school and follow up on that experience with their teachers.
The fourth grade students from Bethlehem come to the Freemansburg Canal Education Center to experience what life might have been like for children back in the 1800s. The field trip that we operate here is geared toward teaching them children's responsibilities as part of a lock tender's family. Life in the 1800s was very different than it is in the 21st century, and that's what we try to impart to them through our lessons and the lesson activities. These activities reflect what they're learning in their Tales of the Towpath storybook, which is their textbook for the Tales of the Towpath curriculum. We also take the kids into the old lock tender's house, the 1829 lock tender's house, which is being restored. They get to go into the first floor, which is just one large open room, and they learn how a family lived in a small structure despite having 2 adults and many children. And then some of the activities that they do associated with the lock tender's house is churning butter and making sauerkraut, both activities that the children living there would have been involved in.
Well, one of the most impressive things to me personally, and I think to a lot of the kids, is we go into the mule barn, and there's a plastic mule there, and the kids get instruction on how to harness the mule. Now, the canal boats were pulled by 2 mules, and we read about this in the book. But they go into the barn, and up above, about maybe 8 feet up, is a hayloft kind of, with lots of hay in it. And when they hear that the kids who had to take care of the mule, this was Finn's brother, Finn is the main character in the book, when the kids who had to take care of the mules had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to harness the mules, to get the mules on the towpath, T-O-W, path, to tow the canals. And then they would work until sometimes 10 at night. You know, if you count the hours, that's 17, 18 hours. These kids are working. Finn himself cooked breakfast on the canal boat, and then they get a look at a model of a canal boat. They get a look at a model of a lock in the canal. Everything becomes real to them. They even get a chance to draw a picture of a mule. So they're actually seeing and touching things. So when they come back and read the book and we talk about the lock, they've manipulated a model about this big of a lock. They've opened the gates. It just becomes so much more real to them because they've looked, they've seen it, they've touched it, they've even smelled it. There's an herb garden and they pick herbs, and you know all the senses are engaged, and that's how kids learn best.
What we always hope for, within a curriculum and when we're teaching our students is that aha moment. And when you get them to be hands-on with a curriculum, you really see that aha moment when they return to school. Everything from the characters, the time period, again, the tools and the canal itself, getting to be outside and interact with the individuals who are leading the trip, interact with the actual physical environment. Kids really, really enjoy it. They come back. I think it really brings the book to life, and it's definitely a fan favorite amongst the fourth graders.